And then if we look at work ethic, nothing in aviation is easy. Really, nothing in life is easy. Everything's going to have its challenges and everything you're going to have to work for. Nothing gets given to you on a silver platter. So having the ability to have that work ethic makes life a lot easier when you're able to know that you can work hard for something but will eventually see the end result.
How do you envision your future career as a professional pilot, and what are the specific steps you plan to take to achieve that goal?
Well, my long-term goal is I want to fly for one of the big three airlines, which that's what we call Delta, American, and United, on what we call their wide-body aircraft and do transatlantic, transcontinental, and trans-Pacific flights. So that would be something like New York to LA, LA to Tokyo, or New York to London. And there's a lot of steps to get there. I plan to attend college at either MTSU or Southeast Missouri and major in professional pilot with a focus in mass transportation and then minor in aeronautical communications. From there, I want to become a flight instructor and then also do some freelance work ferrying aircraft to build the necessary flight time required to get to the airlines. After that, I want to move up to what we call a regional carrier. They're like contractors that work with the major flagship airlines, and they fly routes that might be from like Chattanooga to Atlanta or Charlotte to Raleigh, Durham. Anything like that that's typically going to be your shorter routes with not a lot of people on them. Once you do about 3 years there, and once I do about 3 years there, I plan to move on to the actual flagship carrier, where they'll typically start you on what we call narrow bodies. So that's going to be like your 737 or your A320, stuff like that. Typically, it has three on one side, an aisle, and then another three. And they do routes that are a bit longer. So that might be like Nashville to Chicago or Chicago to Denver. So it's not those long distance, hours long routes. Typically, they're about 3 hours long. And then once I do a few years there and flying those, I want to step up into what we call the wide bodies. So those are going to be your aircraft that typically have 3 seats aisle, 6 seats aisle, or something along those lines. Typically there's 2 aisles and then 3 sections of seats across the aircraft. And then stepping up from that, or from there, I want to eventually become a captain on those aircraft instead of a first officer, which is what we refer to, or what is commonly referred to as a co-pilot.
Um, what benefits do you see in having structured aviation pathways in schools, both for students and for the community?
Well, if we focus on students first, these structured aviation pathways provide students with opportunities that you can't get. These teachers that are teaching these aviation classes have connections in the community that students starting out aren't going to have. For example, my aviation teacher, Mr. Rowe, knows several flight school owners in this area, along with he has connections at Delta, American United. That's all stuff that me as a high school junior and even starting out as a high school freshman, I knew none of these people. So being able to use just that one resource is a great help in taking that step through the industry. Also, these programs are helping students get their ground schooling and stuff done in person, face to face with somebody instead of just sitting there lost on a computer trying to learn it. And it gives the students an environment to come together and take what they've learned and discuss practical uses about it and things like that. It's an environment that takes what would be a one-on-one flight school and turns it into a group activity. It creates a sense of family and belonging. And then if we look at what it can do for the community, especially here in Tullahoma, we have a lot of aviation based businesses. We have like Jacobs, we have Arnold Air Force Base, things like that. But even statewide, Tennessee is quite relevant in the aviation industry. And nationwide in the US, we are one of the top leaders in the aviation industry. So there's an endless need for jobs in aviation. And these structured programs can take students who might not have had an interest in aviation before and spark that interest in them and possibly be able to fill these jobs nationwide. It also creates a new group of leaders that will lead next year's or next generation's society. It creates people that have learned this work ethic, this studying, this time management, stuff that's going to be needed to be successful, and they can take that and show other people how to advance their skills and become more successful throughout their journeys of life.